Hey guys, Rusty here at Ugly HP. Sorry it's been a little bit before we got a video out, but it's been pretty slow because of the holidays. Today we got a 1998 Olds 88 with a 3.8. Going to change the water pump on it. Pretty simple. Calls for a lot of hours because they want you to remove the mount. So what we're going to try to do is give it a try to do it without removing the mount. I'm going to have to remove the mount later to change the belt because the belt has to be changed too. It's all chewed up. But we're just going to experiment real quick and see if we could do this without pulling the mount out to access the water pump. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to break all these 8mm on the water pump loose. Alright, so they're all broken loose, so now we're going to take a 15mm and snatch this belt off real quick. Obviously you want to drain the coolant system, because if you can't take the belt off completely, the best thing you could do is pretty much pull it out of the way. Like I said, we're changing it, so there's a bolt at the bottom. It's a 15mm. It's way down there at the bottom. It goes right here. There's a spacer that goes down there. You pull that spacer out, and that's how you get that belt out without changing that mount. Let's see, now that we have accessed this, we're gonna get all these out. I think we could do it without pulling them out. All data gives 3 hours. And I know I've been having arguments with or not arguments, but arguments on flat rate with the guy on YouTube, and I understand his point, kind of. But as you can see, I'm not taking any shortcuts. I can hopefully access it, do the job correctly without taking a bunch of stuff off that the manufacturer would want you to, or the factory times expect you to take off. It's kind of cold today. It's like 58 degrees. Which, if you're from Florida, that's fur coat weather. You know, you freeze. Ugh. Okay, so pulley came out. So now we have a consistence of 13mm and 10mm bolts we have to change. Hold on one second. I think I see why they want 3 hours. But there's only 2 bolts that hold this, one that's not even in there. Alright, so there's a 13mm, so the power steering pump has to get dropped out, but that's still not 3 hours worth of work, guys. As you will see in the video, it's not going to take that long. There should be one on the bottom, 1 or 2. I think I feel 2. Let me see if I can snake this in there. Ugh. thought I felt another one, did I? I guess not. Okay, so there's one 10 millimeter on the bottom, 3 10 millimeters on the top. Hold on, I have to get a small extension so we can get this power steering pump swapped out the way. Let's see, where are you at? Oh. Probably help if I didn't put a 10 millimeter on the extension, but okay, so power steering bolts, pump is held in by 2 bolts. Trying to get it out. I don't want it to fall out later while I'm working on this thing. Instead of it sitting in the pump. Ugh. Well, that has given me a lot more room to get that corner bolt out. So. I think my battery might be dead. Gotta switch to good old hand power. Hand power. This is where you start to think you might break them. Any day now. Alright, so there's one water pump bolt. Now, you do want to put thread sealer on these when you put them back in. You also want to chase the threads that are in there. Two bolts. Trying to see where my small one went. Now these pumps are relatively cheap. To get a good one, it's only $30. At least that's what I paid for it. That's with a lifetime warranty, so I mean, they had cheaper ones than this. They were like $24. Ugh. That's where your back starts to hurt. One more to go. Now we got a catch pan under this, catch all the extra stuff, water. I'm going to take a pry bar right here and just take a hammer and tap it off of there. Well, there you have it. You know, 13 minutes into it, we got it off. I'm going to take and clean everything up, and then we'll be back to put the new one on. Alright, so we got the gasket all cleaned up, we got our bolts cleaned up, and we ran our tap through there. So we are going to install our gasket. It's got dowel pins, so you can set the dowel pins on there. Then we'll slide our pump on there. And get these little guys all started. If you've watched my videos in the past, you know I like to get all my bolts started before I do anything more. No tightening first, you know. Just makes it to where you get them all lined up, because you could tighten them and throw another bolt in and it want to go in crooked because it's being forced that way because there's no wiggle room. I got all my small ones started. I'm going to use some permatex indianhead sealer on these bolts, only because these are, GM does a lot of thread through stuff where they just thread until they can't thread no more, and it goes right into a water jacket, which causes obviously sealing issues. A lot of guys that work on the older vehicles know exactly what I'm talking about sealing issues, because if you don't seal their head bolts and stuff like that, you'll definitely have a water leak. But it's good to take and clean these threads with either a wire wheel or a wire brush. This way they go and they're clean. The only thing I hate about this Indian head is that you can't open that thing without it getting everywhere. So you might as well expect to get it on your hands. And just be careful not to get it on anything else, because this stuff is hard to get off. I'm not talking about certain things you prefer to, guys. Get your mind out the gutter. I'm talking about, like, you know, the interior of the car or the paint. I'm not talking about when you go to use the bathroom, you forget to wash your hands first. People in this world, Jesus. Alright, so got them all started, so I'm going to run these 10 millimeters in first. Really doesn't matter which ones you're running first, I just prefer to run the small ones in first. Got to get a 10 millimeter on there. This bottom one. No, it fits. It fit earlier, right, guys? That's what she said. Now, these 10 millimeter ones, you don't want to run them on there, like, really tight. Socket got stuck on the nut. Now, as you guys can see, this is not a 3-hour job. It's not even an hour-long job. It's just one of those jobs. Or if you pace yourself and you examine it first instead of just going straight to what the computer says. To take off, then, you know. So those 13 millimeters, I'm going to tighten them up by hand. Those need to be just a little bit more tighter than snug. It's like 35 foot-pounds if you want to get a torque wrench on it. So next we'll figure out which one of these holes is threaded. Started on pain in my ass. This is a perfect example why you start them all before you tighten it, because if I were just to tighten that one, all these would probably be a pain in the ass. so there you basically have it. The only thing I have left to do is install my power steering pump, put the belt on, and then we have our little bracket down there, which if you're changing the belt you would have had to pull out. But if not, as you can see, this is not a 3-hour job. It literally is 30 minutes at the most. I'm going to finish that stuff up. There's no sense in me showing you stuff that you already know you have to put back on. 2 bolts down there, and that's it. Check us out on Facebook. Hit the like button, subscribe, share with your buddies, and as always, keep wrenching and stay warm.